Thanks again for tuning into yet another video. Infamous coming at you live from the West Coast yet again, San Jose, California. So, of course, you guys seen the title of the video. Is this necessary? FXLRST Fairing on a Sportster, is it absolutely necessary? Should you do it? I've been getting a lot of questions on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and a few questions on YouTube. People wondering who's making the fairing, who's making the bracket, stuff like that. I made it myself. I'll be sure to upload all the videos as soon as I can. I just don't know when exactly I'll be able to get around to them. But this is going to be maybe a quick little moto vlog, and just me to advise you not to do this. All right, this is just me being dumb. This is just me, you know, doing stuff that I really believe people shouldn't be doing. But if you absolutely want to, you can. All right, I mean, it's your bike, ride your own ride, do what you want to do. But this would be my reasoning for not to buy a Lowrider ST fairing for your Sportster, because Advent Black, they've announced that they will be doing kits for the Sportster. It's the same thing with the FXRT fairing. Clockworks, they offer a bracket for Sportsters. Of course, that's a $2,000 option. This option from Advent Black is going to run you about, I'd say, once it's all said and done, probably about $1,400 to $1,700 depending on the color matched and all that other good stuff. But I mean, honestly, quite honestly, if I could, I would do this on a full frame, on a big V-twin, on a Dyna, or maybe a Softail. I would 100% do it on those bikes if I could. All right, I'm just saying, if I could. My wife will not let me do it. All right, I've had 3 bikes, sold one of them, now I have 2 bikes. If I absolutely could, I would buy a 3rd bike. All right, I mentioned it in the comments. I wish I could buy another bike, put this fairing on that bike, on a Dyna, on a full frame big V twin, on a Softail. I would 100% absolutely prefer doing that. But considering that my wife's already upset with the amount of money I spend on the bikes, with the amount of money I spend on the motovlogging stuff, the cameras, all the technology that I have, the amount of money that I spent on the computers to store all the video footage and stuff like that, my wife's absolutely pissed off about this. That and the tax here in California for this bike is $300. So every bike that I have, my Lowrider S, my Sportster, I'm paying $600 in tax because I live in California. All right, if I were to add another bike, that's going to cost me an additional $300. So now I'm paying $900 a year just so I could keep my bikes. All right, that's the main reason why I just couldn't get another bike, so I could do this build and keep the Road Warrior fairing on this bike. Another reason why I didn't want to put this on my Lowrider S is because I already have that set up with the audio system, the paint, everything, the lowers. I have that thing dialed in, and I did not want to redo my audio system and redo everything, my paint and all that stuff. And that's why I decided to just throw it on the Sportster. You guys can see the inner fairing is not painted, it's not matched, it's just the outer fairing. You know, just financially, because I do have the money. People have made comments about me having the finance to do this stuff. You guys can see my bike. I have the money to do it, but like I said, the wife will not let me. I already spent quite a bit of money on this project. And like I said, to sell my Sportster, I've owned a Sportster before, a CV carbureted Sportster. I didn't want to get rid of it. All right, guys, I really like the bike. I really like the way the bike feels and handles and all that good stuff. I just didn't want to sell it. Again, I didn't want to sell another Sportster. I wanted to keep the Sportster because I know deep down inside, eventually, you know, eventually I'm gonna get around to wanting to buy another Sportster, and I have this Roadster. I really like it. The seat height is 31 inches, so it sits up high. You know, I got 17-inch bars, inverted forks, everything on this bike already. So that's why I did not, I just didn't want to sell it again. You know, I wanted to keep it. My wife told me, hey, if you get another bike, you're gonna have to sell one of them. And I did not want to get rid of my Lowrider S, and I did not want to get rid of my Sportster. So I just decided not to do it. But there it is. Let's do a quick little walk around. Well, not really a walk around, just to kind of let you guys look at it and you guys can see it and stuff like that, instead of just seeing it from behind the cockpit. Behind the cockpit, I can't say it. Cockpit behind the rider seat, I guess. So there it is. The lowrider. Sorry guys. The Sportster. Should you do this financially? You shouldn't. All right. This fairing is meant for touring, long range. It's meant for wind protection, stuff like that. And this frame is just not it. All right, guys. It's not it. This frame, the limitations of this bike, it's not meant for this type of fairing. All right. It's light, it's nimble. I like it. Like I said, it's got that shake to it. You guys can see it. It's a rubber mounted V-twin Evo, guys. You guys can see how crazy it shakes. I love it. Rubber mounted. There's no counterbalancers in this thing. 100%. I really like this bike. You guys can hear the it's rowdy. It's absolutely rowdy, but this fairing is just not meant for this bike. All right, I'll give you a couple reasons. One, the fuel tank on this bike. Yes, it's got a 4.5 gallon tank. Yes, it's got more fuel capacity, but normally you get this with a 3.5 gallon tank or a 3.3 gallon tank, depending on what Sportster you have. You might have a 48. It's a little bit, you know, it's a peanut, maybe a 72, a Sportster 72 or something like that. It's got a peanut tank. It's not meant for long distance riding. Can you do it? You absolutely can. You can ride this long range. You can 100% do it, guys. I'm not saying that you can't. I've done it, but do you want to? All right, do you want to do it on this bike? I don't know. All right, I have, like I said, I have a big V-twin. I have my Lowrider S. You know, if you have a secondary bike, maybe consider doing it, but as far as your main bike, you have to look at other options to install this beautiful fairing. Reason number 2 for this bike, it's the gearbox, the transmission. This has a 5-speed transmission. All right, I'm taking this thing up to 90 miles per hour, depending on your size, depending on your weight. That's going to be a huge factor. Huge factor. All right, doing 90, 100 miles per hour with this thing, the engine does overheat. I'm pushing 420 degrees on that rear cylinder by, you know, holding 90, 80 miles per hour for consistently. I say, yeah, 97 miles per hour. If you're holding 97, 90 miles per hour in this thing, 5 speeds, I'm telling you guys, there's no 6-speed on this thing. Could you buy it? You absolutely can. You can buy a 6-speed, but by the time you're spending money on a 6-speed transmission and the money on the fairing, you're better off going with the big V-twin, going with the Dyna, going with the M8 Softail. It's just, there's no reasoning for you, there's no logic to having this setup on this bike. This the 5-speed transmission is a huge factor on why you shouldn't be doing this. All right, like I mentioned, I could hold 90. I could probably do 80, 70, 75 to 80 miles per hour without the rear cylinder overheating. Maybe. All right, reason number 3, of course, it's a small frame. All right, you get pushed around in this thing weighs under 550. I'd say right now with the fairing, I'm pushing probably about 560 or 570 maybe. It's sub 600 pounds on this thing, so it's light. You know, riding this thing long range, it absolutely sucked. All right, getting tossed, pushed around by other vehicles, the wind, stuff like that. It's another big reason or factor why you should not be doing this. Yes, you see me do it. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. All right, this is my secondary bike. I'm just messing around. I like the feedback from the internet, how people absolutely hate it. Hey, I find it amusing that people absolutely hate what this thing is. All right, and is there a fourth reason other than, you know, the suspension? Probably. Yes, I do have I believe these are 14-inch shocks. Like I said, this is a 32-inch seat height on this bike. Most Sportsters don't have this suspension. You have the inverted forks and the taller rear suspension. Most Sportsters, you're looking at what, like a 12-inch shock, or you're looking at, yeah, I'd say 12-inch, right? So you're looking at about a seat height of 25 inches. It's just not built for that type of riding. The way your regular Sportster, this Roadster is it's really different, guys. So all of that, the limited fuel capacity, the gearbox, the limited gearbox, the weight of the bike, and the suspension, you probably should not be putting on a fairing like this. All right, so like I said, I got this thing on sale. That's the only reason why I did it, guys. That's the only reason why I did this. I got it on sale. I got this for 600 bucks with taxes and shipping. Fantastic deal. The bracket, the fairing, of course, I modified everything. I absolutely modified everything. You guys can look at it. I did a lot of modifications. You guys will have to look at a different video on what I did to it, because you know, the length of the video is going to be super long. But anyways, I'm having a blast. All right, couple pros, I guess, maybe a couple pros, right, guys? Maybe a few pros before we sign off. Try to keep the video short. You know, the bike still handles well, surprisingly. All right, I do have a first impressions. You guys can watch that video, but I'm just gonna include it in this video. I'm just surprised how well the bike handles, even with, you know, the additional I'd say probably 20 pounds, 15 pounds in the front end. I'm absolutely just stunned how well the bike handles with the additional weight. All right, it handles just fine. No noise, no squeaking, no rattling, nothing. This thing is just, it's precise. The fairing is aftermarket TCMT. There was a few issues as far as one of the clips that was broken from shipping, but I went ahead and I used some JB Weld, repaired it, sanded it down, and prepped it and all that good stuff. So the fairing has been holding up. How long is it going to hold up? Who knows? I don't know. But I've seen Advent Black's group video or group page. They're having similar issues with the plastic and how rigid the plastic is and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just TCMT or if it's TCMT and Advent Black. I don't know. But I'm part of the Advent Black group, and I've seen it there as well. Minor issues as far as I saw one of the mounting or locking mechanisms here, I believe, broke, and the fairing was sticking out. Of course, you have to be careful when you're using Loctite around ABS, raw ABS, like on this one. There's a chance you could probably crack or break the ABS over time. I learned that the hard way with my saddlebags. When you're using Loctite, there's a specific type of Loctite for plastic. All right, or if you do end up using the Loctite, try to clean it up around the ABS, especially the inner fairing, the inside of the fairing, because it's all raw ABS. It will eat the ABS plastic Loctite, so be very, very cautious. I believe that's what it is. There's also probably you know, people over torquing these or over tightening these fasteners, these ones. That's probably why it broke. So I don't know, you know, just a couple cons and stuff like that, but for the most part, I absolutely love the fairing. All right, I love the fairing. I've been having a blast. I already have a flared windshield for this thing. I wrote it. I went ahead and I swapped it out for this one, for the OEM one. I am currently painting the other windshield along with some saddlebags, so I could, you know, outfit it and have it all painted and everything matching, everything, you know, nice. But I'm just surprised how much better on this frame this fairing's doing compared to my FXRT, guys. It could be, I don't think it is, but maybe part of it has to do the tune in my FXLRS. I'm not happy with it still after 6-7 months. I'm not happy with the tune. So it could be, you know, it could be that, or it could be the cam itself. It's a 475. It's an aggressive cam. I'm more of a low end torque type of guy. I like feeling that, you know, that pull. You guys see that? I like feeling that torque at the low end. And surprisingly, this bike with this heavy fairing still has it. I just don't know. I was having second thoughts with this build. I was having second thoughts with the fairing, because on how dramatic. Let me put down my drop down visor. I was having second thoughts before doing this because of how drastic my lowrider S handles now with the FXRT fairing. Of course, that's a fiberglass fairing. I also have the audio system, but before I even added the audio and all of this stuff, my lowrider S did handle quite different. So I was worried about that due to this bike, the Sportster. You know, it's a 1200 cc's. It's got 70 horsepower. It's got about half of the horsepower or half of the performance of my lowrider S, my Milwaukee 8. So I was really concerned about putting this fairing on the bike, because I knew how dramatic my lowrider S was feeling after the FXRT fairing. So to my surprise, guys, the bike handles amazing. It handles great. You know, I can still, you guys can see on how the bike is still responsive. Mind you, of course, I've made this my throttle, of course, I made my throttle very, very tight. There's almost no free play in my throttle. No, like there's no free play. So maybe that also has you know, something to do with it. But of course, you know, also remember that that I have a throttle tuner on my lowrider S. So, you know, the bike surprisingly handles well, guys, for what it is. Sportster, all right, a beginner bike, a girl's bike, I guess you could say. The bike handles well. It's still responsive. So I am just completely, you know, amazed on how well the bike handles. You guys can see the shake. It's absolutely nuts. It's bolted down. I just, you know, I don't know what it is. It's bolted down on the lower fairing. You can see it's just the top of it, of the fairing, where that's where it just starts to just completely shake, guys. I mean, this thing, like I said, it's a rubber mounted Evo. It's a rubber mounted V-twin, so it's got that shake to it, guys. We're gonna see how long it holds up with all this shake. I don't think there's anything else for me to do to, you know, bolt this down, because if you look at the bracket, it's not really moving. The bracket doesn't move. I have two mounting points on this thing, and the bracket does not move. It's just, I believe, because of the weight of the LP6. It's a 5-pound LP6. You guys can see the whole thing just absolutely shakes. I think it's because where it's mounted and at the end point, I believe that probably has something to do with it. But man, this whole thing just absolutely shakes, and I just love it. All right, I absolutely love the bike. So anyways, don't do it unless you absolutely want to. All right, unless you absolutely want to. My suggestion, if you want this FXLRST fairing, if you want it, I suggest you save up money and buy yourself a big V-twin. You should not be doing this. All right, if you have a second bike or maybe a third bike and you wanted to do this, then maybe. do it. But as far as you know, doing it for a Sportster, don't do it, guys. All right, I did it. I don't want to influence other people on doing this. All right, I did it. Yes, I did it. But you know, it's an absolutely stupid build. All right, I agree with all the comments. All right, with all the comments on social media, people are calling me silly. People are calling me a clown, of course, stuff like that. I agree. All right, this is a stupid build, but I love it. I love the way it feels, the way it handles, and now I have great wind protection. I can hear my tunes. Zero buffeting, guys. I'm doing 96 in this thing. 96 miles per hour, zero buffeting. Absolutely amazing. All right, this thing cuts right through wind. But you know, you just can't hold that top speed for a long period of time, because the 5 gear 1200 cc air V twin, it just can't take that kind of, I mean, who knows, maybe it can, because I mean, these things are bulletproof, these V twins. You can run these things pretty hot, but yeah, I mean, would you want to, you know? So life's a risk. Thanks for tuning in. Don't do this, guys. Don't waste your money on something like this. Just save up 7,000, 8,000 bucks, or $9,000 depending where you live. Save up 9,000 bucks and get yourself a Dyna, get yourself a full frame, or get yourself a big V twin, and then consider doing something like this on that bike. So life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.